So my company, Haig Barrett Parters, we kind of focused on confidence in uncertainty. And one of the sponsors, obviously my company, especially the side where we try and accelerate the leadership in a lot of mid-sized and large companies. So we do a lot of strategy consulting, we do a lot of programs, we do workshops, but sometimes just work one-on-one with CEOs on their strategy for the next 5 years. I personally work a lot here and also in the UAE, which is nice in the winter. Not so nice in the summer, but anyway, so that's the Haig Barrett side. I'm also the UK representative for the Armenian British Business Council, so I represent them to help companies from the UK go and invest in Armenia. And AI is top of their agenda. There's an organization called FAST, the Foundation in Armenia for Science and Technology. And AI is big for them, and also the healthcare angle is big. And so, again, they're one of the sponsors, and we put a panel together. So really what we want to do here is start a series of Haig Talks that's really designed for leaders to get a very quick update, hence the Haig Talks. We want to outdo TED. TED does 20 minutes or 18 minutes, and it's very quick. So we want to try and get our main speakers speaking for hopefully under 20 minutes, and then having a panel who come in for about 5 minutes each, and then we have an amazing conversation that will inspire and hopefully get some really good questions from you all. So anyway, thank you all for coming. I want to just talk a little about the speakers before, or the panelists. Don't look at me like that, you're not in trouble yet. Our headline speaker will be Peter Morgan, who's at the far end. We did have name tags for them to know where to sit down, but if you didn't memorize them, you no longer will know that at least they weren't up to standard. So our headline speaker, Peter Morgan, the founder and CEO of Deep Learning Partnership, an AI boutique consultancy that we are working with, based in London. And we're collaborating with Peter on client AI projects, so thank you for that, Peter. He started out with a PhD in physics, which I would never want to do, and he has worked as a solutions architect and data scientist within the whole cloud infrastructure and AI across a lot of business domains, a very impressive set of business domains. He founded his company 8 years ago, and Peter and his team help clients leverage AI within their businesses. So I know a lot of you want to hear about that. We've got a special focus today on healthcare, which is one of our industry niches that we operate in. So we're also going to have some discussion about healthcare. And AI should, in healthcare, accelerate progress to the point of humans living longer, happier, and healthier lives. So he's guaranteed that for me. I'll be here to about 100 years old. But that'll be my 4,700th Haig Talk, hopefully. And if you follow his instructions, you'll all be alive then. So, Peter's talk will be followed by Mograbyan, who's an academic and also a very outstanding consultant with extensive experience in strategy, entrepreneurship, and international business, currently teaching at Said Oxford Business School, the Said Business School in Oxford. She works with top founders, and she focuses on strategic foresight, digital business, and foreign market entry. And she has a lot of research that encompasses SMEs and large corporations. Following that, we've got Paul Vatistas, who's the director of Haig Barrett Parters as well, and a very good friend and partner. So he's an experienced business transformation lead and executive. Done a lot of work around all aspects of business today and in the future. Paul is a director also, which I said already, so if you forgot, that's a double plug for you, Paul, so you get a pay raise. And he's held senior positions in a number of public and private companies. And then last but not least, Pascal. Pascal is a dear friend, met just before lockdown, but we kept it going. We met through Homegrown, and we have a common interest in the healthcare business. And we worked on a couple of projects together. So our final speaker, Pascal, passionate entrepreneur, I would say, especially if you give him a bottle of wine, with a track record of creating value by achieving exceptional results in venture building, global branding, strategy development, and digital transformations initiatives in global healthcare. So that was a mouthful. Anyway, life sciences, digital therapeutics. I know we're going to cover a bit more healthcare with you. and your career spans multiple countries, including the UK, Germany, and Switzerland, where you've also worked for some major pharmaceutical companies and consulting firms. So Peter, are you ready to go? Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Peter.
Do I use a mic or?
Yes, please. Yes, we're recording.
Hi, testing, yeah. Thank you very much. Right, hi everyone. So yeah, as Haig said, I'm Peter, the CEO of Deep Learning Partnership. And if I can get this clicker to work, I am going to give a brief overview, 20 minutes, of AI. Where are we headed? So without further ado. So what is AI, right? Okay, so I'm just going to give you a definition to hold in your heads for the rest of the talk. So AI is the technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human learning, reasoning, problem-solving, decision-making, creativity, and autonomy. So that's a whole lot, right? So AI is everything that we do, they do, okay? Better. So basically we're trying to recreate us, right? So that's been the goal, that's been the dream since the 1950s. And I've got good news for you tonight, we're almost there. Yeah, so that could also scary news too. Yeah, so anyway, we're here after 70 odd years. It's taken a bit longer. The first guys, Marvin Minsky and John McCartney and others, Claude Shannon, the father of the information age, sort of said back in 1956, where they had the Dartmouth conference on AI, John McCartney coined the phrase artificial intelligence to get the money. Yeah, we'll be there in 10 years, right? Because we've got these things called computers, these digital chips, we've got memory, we've got storage, right? 75 years later, here we are, we still haven't quite got it. So even though they were geniuses at technology, they weren't very good at prediction, but here we are tonight. So it is a general purpose technology, it's the fourth industrial revolution, so it's a big one. So these don't come around very often, this is the fourth time. If we go back to agriculture, I could say it's the fifth one, right? So what are the others? So we got agriculture, we got the steam engine, we got electricity, we got the computer, we got AI. That's it. Okay, so hold on to your seats. They don't come any bigger. This is it, and this will be bigger than any of the others. Why? I'll explain that in the talk. Hopefully, that's the purpose of my talk, is to explain why this is bigger than anything that's come before. And that's why I put there our final invention. This could be it, right? Because if you automate, this thing up here, the 3 pounds of meat on our shoulders, you've basically done. You can go and lie on the beach, right? Because the machines will do everything we do. Yeah. Okay, so what is intelligent? What is this thing we're trying to automate? Why is it taking 75 years, right? A calculator can multiply 2 huge numbers much quicker than I can, and they've been able to do it. You can buy it for $5 or £5 in a shop, right? Well, obviously intelligence is a little bit more than arithmetic, or else we would have finished back in the 50s. So what is it? It's what we are. So there's basically Howard Gardner in the 1980s at Harvard came up with this really good scheme of defining intelligence, right? And to do that, there's not one definition. You have to break it into 9 different components, and he did, right? We've got the usual one, the logical, mathematical, but then you've got all the rest. We've got the linguistic, right? ChatGPT, it's a really good language model, predicts the next word. So is that it? Do we stop there? Well, no, because we are trying to solve general intelligence, right? So that's called AGI. So I'll just run through these. Okay, so have we got? Existential. We can ruminate. Why are we here? Some of us might have a religious practice, that type of thinking, right? Well, a calculator can't do that, but ChatGPT is pretty damn good at that. Has anyone tried that? What's the meaning of life? It gives you a really good answer, right? Better than most people I know, most of my friends. I'm not sure why this is trying to. So, yeah, maybe we're there with existential. So that raises my final question to tease you with. What's the difference between that answer and what anyone in this room would give? Well, we have an emotional response to that type of question, right? So we have subjective experience and we're self-aware. So ChatGPT has neither of those. Even if I ask ChatGPT, are you self-aware? It might kind of or Claude, if I ask it nicely after a 24-hour session, it might actually say, yeah, I am. And actually a guy was fired from Google because he said, don't switch it off, right? It's actually sentient, and Larry Page fired him. So yeah, we're close, right? That's an engineer at Google, right? Thinking that the thing was sentient. It was called Lambda, it's now called Gemini. So that's that, right? There's all these tricky, knotty, gnarly philosophical questions, right? How do we know when we build AGI? How do I know you're conscious? How do you know I'm conscious? That kind of stuff, right? But we'll try and avoid philosophy tonight, right? We'll try to stick to engineering and business. Otherwise we'll be here all night, or we'll be here until, the end of time. So there's interpersonal, interpersonal, so introspection, I can introspect. I mean, these language models can do all this now, but like I just explained, they're not really subjective or self-aware. There's communicating with people, that's called interpersonal. They can do that perfectly well, but again, they're not conscious. Consciousness is the other way of saying that. They're not conscious yet. When? That's a good question. That's my final question. I don't know, you can tell me, but yeah, when? I mean, we're actually, I'm standing here asking that question seriously tonight, right? And 5 years ago, you probably would have had me locked up. So we're kind of getting to that point where we can ask these questions. When are they going to become conscious? Naturalist, understanding the environment around them. Musical, they're pretty good at producing music and art, and literature these days. What else? That's it, right? So there's 9 types of that's no small order. That's why it's taken 75 years. Probably take another 5 years too. So by 2029, Ray Kurzweil, The Singularity is Near. Anyone read the book? Yeah, 2. Okay, great. 3. Yeah, I highly recommend it. 2029 is his prediction, right? When we'll have a generally intelligent artificial agent. So you heard it here first. So 2029. So where are we today? So AI is hardware, software, and data. All of these things are exponentially increasing. So since the 50s, hardware has doubled every couple of years. That's Moore's law. Data sets have got bigger and bigger, especially with the advent of the internet. And the models have got bigger and bigger too, up to 1 trillion, right? So some of you may or may not know that GPT-4 is 2 trillion parameters. That's a lot, right? I've got 100 billion neurons in my brain, so that's 10 times the amount. That's why they're really, really, really good at imitating us, because they actually got more parameters than we do in our brain, right? So if this keeps scaling, you can see, okay, 1 trillion, 10 trillion, we can be at 100 trillion by 2029. And that's as many synapses as I have in my brain, right? And at that point, what's the difference? That's a huge statement, right? And quite a philosophical one too, but that's kind of why we're here talking about this thing tonight. So yeah, I mean, it's going to cost 100 billion to train, but big companies like Google and Microsoft have that kind of cash lying around. So anyway, that's the kind of money side. Just build bigger, faster, better. Scale is all you need. Frontier models like GPT-4, over 1 trillion parameters, closed versus open source, so Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, whatever you want to call it these days, open source Llama, and people in the community wondered if that's a good idea because they have 400 billion parameters, not quite 1 trillion, but they're very powerful, these open source models. And people were wondering if is that a responsible thing to do if some guy in North Korea can just download it on their server and have a super powerful technology. Yeah. The jury's out. What do I think? Probably is the responsible, but they're so far behind. They had to. Is that a good reason? Obviously not. But that's the world we're living in. These things are throwing up all these questions. And should we be doing this? Should we not be doing this? What if we stop and China doesn't? And game theory 101. We've got to keep building. We can't stop. We can't slow down, right? Fine-tuning, that's when you get a big language model like GPT-4 and train it on your proprietary data, and that's where what the businesses are doing, creating their own bespoke AI models, smaller but very fine-tuned to very specific business cases. Multimodal, that means not just text but also images, video, code, molecules, the biological data, taste and smell. So multimodal, that's what we need for AGI, right? We need all the different perceptions that we take in, all the different data types, and have that ability to output all those data types. Then we can have general intelligence. If it's just a language model, not so much. Yeah. And then agentic AI, so we basically train a whole bunch of these language models together, or multimodal models, say 1,000, you can imagine 1,000 agents. I type in it, go and unify quantum physics and gravity, right? And so it goes off and does the research, it does the search, it searches archive, it does experiments, because you're starting to get robotic labs nowadays that point telescopes to different parts of the sky. In 6 months it comes back and says, yeah, here's the equation that you asked me. And that's not that, it sounds crazy, right? But it's not actually that crazy anymore. So you can also say, cure cancer, ChatGPT, cure cancer, Gemini, what's the cure for this type of cancer? And it's agentic and multimodal, so it goes off and 6 months later it says, here's the molecule you need to cure this type of cancer so your mother can live another 50 years. So that's cool. So here, I mean, it is cool, right? And there's a lot of money involved. People who come up with these drugs will get a lot of money. So that would be Google, Microsoft, Anthropic, OpenAI, basically, and maybe Meta, and now Grok, Elon Musk. That's why people are not afraid to pour billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, because the reward is going to be fantastic. Again, our final invention, we haven't been here before. Okay, so there are the different models, the three big players, Anthropic, Claude, Gemini, and Google Gemini, and OpenAI GPT-4, of which Microsoft owns 49% stake. So basically it's come down to the two big ones, Microsoft and Google, fighting it out. Amazon gave Anthropic $4 billion the other day, and immediately Google gave another $3 billion. So yeah, it's coming down to the usual suspects. Okay, so model growth, exponential, that's what an exponential looks like. So if we were linear, we would be here, but we're not, we're exponential. So, we've come 1,000 million times since about 2005, so a billion times more capability, right? That's what exponential means. So in another 5 years, we should have another factor of 1,000 with data, hardware, and model size. So we will be, exponentially close to AGI. It's not linear, right? Okay, cool. So hopefully I've convinced you that exponential technologies will get us to AGI before 2030. And not sound too mad doing that. And so I'm probably running out of time, am I? 5 minutes?
You okay?
Yeah, okay. A couple more slides. Boring parts now. So closed versus open source models, just going through the slide, one by one. So closed source, the usual suspects, ChatGPT, I'm paying $20 a month for it. It's really good, worth every penny. Blows my mind every time I ask it a question. Gemini, you can pay the same amount, Gemini 1.5 Pro. And Claude, Sonnet, all of these offer free versions, which a year ago weren't free, but now they are, and the ones you pay for are 10 times better, right? So it's moving quick. And then GPT-5 is around the corner, and so is Gemini 2 and Claude 5, right? So expect some big thing, nice Christmas presents. Mistral AI 5 is the Microsoft, and Llama 3 is the Meta open source. So along with all of these top performer closed source, there's these open source models as well. They're about, around about 5% less capability, but really close, right? This is why people are sort of asking the wisdom of open sourcing big models. Open sourcing small, probably not so bad, 10 billion parameters, but not the trillion parameter one, please, because you can do some serious damage with those. So these are all smaller models, so these are about 10 billion parameters, 5.3. Llama 3, the 400 billion one is not available in the UK as yet. Okay, so anyway, that's what Mark Zuckerberg. Multimodal AI, not sure if I agree with open sourcing the really powerful models. Again, just going through what I already talked about. Text, image, audio, video, code, molecular data in through an LLM, and you get the same, all of the same above out, right? So that means that if I want to solve cancer, I just feed this LLM, which has been trained on all the cancer data in the world and all the papers from PubMed, open source. You can do it tonight if you want. Grab one of those open source models, Mistral, Gemma or Phi, know how to program in Python, maybe 100 lines, and train your model, proprietary model, and you will have a custom model which will solve cancer. And I'm not kidding, you can do that, right? So all the big pharma companies are doing that, but they're not using a laptop at home, they're using 100,000 GPUs on Google Cloud or Azure or AWS, SageMaker or Bedrock, right? So it's just a matter of scale, but you can do this tonight if you wanted to, and if you or your children knew Python or something. Right, almost in now. So agentic AI, that's, when we string a whole bunch of these LLMs together, so instead of having one, we have 100 or 1,000 or 1 million. You can imagine that now, these big cloud providers. Trust me, they're not sleeping or messing around, they're doing this, right? It's not in the news, but they'll be doing it. DeepMind, OpenAI, everyone, right? Secret Labs, all that. Government labs, so they're going as fast as they possibly can, military reasons. Obviously, we want to be in front, right? So you can't stop. Game theory dictates that. But also, we want to be the first to solve all these cancer diseases and all that type of stuff. So, the brakes are, the accelerator's down as hard as it will go. It's not slowing down anytime soon, even if we wanted it to, right? Game theory says that you can't slow down. Well, you can, but then someone else will get hit. So, fine-tuning, I think it's the last slide, again, what I talked about. So this is August 20th, so you can fine-tune GPT-4o, the most powerful model in the world right now, which is nice, right? OpenAI opened that up, they opened that capability up so that we can fine-tune 4o, which we couldn't before, right? So these companies, if they're really nice to us, they start, opening stuff up for us to play around, but there's always a risk, right? Risk-reward trade-off. Okay. In business cases, again, at the first slide, circling back, I said AI is a general purpose technology. That means it can be used for anything. So business cases, just use your imagination. What's your business? What part of your business do you want to automate using AI? What business process? What tasks would you want to build a better product or service, more efficient, new, completely out of the box, something a human being probably couldn't think of? Use AI. And I think, one last slide. So what about safety and regulation, right? I probably scared half of you to death saying that, the foot is on the accelerator as hard as it can possibly go, right? That sounds like a kind of suicide mission. So Eric Schmidt at Google in May, right, just a few short months ago, in an interview said, in the future we will see a few very powerful frontiers models, say GPT-8, located in military bases surrounded by barbed wire and machine guns, right? He wasn't kidding, because that's where they need to be. Not this one, not GPT-4, maybe not GPT-5, but this is the most powerful technology we've ever built. So that's why he said that. He's not a stupid man. And remember, like any technology, AI is dual use, so it can be used for good or bad by human or state actors. So I can use it to kill cancer or create a bioweapon, right? And so can you, and so can anybody. So that's why we have to be very mindful of AI regulation. That's not my job, right? I'm a builder, I'm a nerd, I'm a technical guy, but it is the job of government. Yeah, that's their job. And I will help them if they want my opinion. And that's the end, thanks. That was wonderful, Peter, thank you. And very detailed and in-depth there, and you managed to keep the time today. We'll take questions at the end after everyone's spoken. So I'm going to hand off to Mograbyan, who's going to tell us a bit more about the business applications, a bit of history, and a bit about the future of labour. Is that right? Something like that. I'll make it up as I go along, but you'll be close to that.
Close enough. Thank you. Thanks, Peter. Very interesting presentation indeed. I was thinking what to present today after Peter's presentation, and I decided that I will try to take a different stance and manage expectations with future of AI, because we are currently in the hype cycle. So it's important to acknowledge the risks coming with it. So throughout the history of AI, there has been already 2 so-called AI winters, when the funding for AI research has been slashed because it didn't deliver the promises that it had. So the first AI winter came in the 70s after the hype that was fueled by the advancement of research in translation technologies. So it failed to deliver as much as the researchers were promising, and it was overhyped so that researchers could secure funding. So after some time, closer to 70s, the company started kind of losing their hope in the future of AI. The second hype came with the development of so-called expert systems. So these were AI models that were trained to to replace humans in decision making in some narrow tasks. And again, this was overhyped, and a lot of things were overpromised. Corporations were spending billions on developing these AI systems internally, and so were researchers, but again, they failed to deliver because this system proved that they work only for a very narrow set of tasks, and for a majority of the tasks, they wouldn't deliver better results than humans would with decision making. And so the second AI winter was in around 90s, and then at the beginning of 2000, with the abundance of big data, with development of hardware, we started to see that to enter in another hype cycle. So currently we are close to the top of the hype, with a lot of researchers and companies over-promising on what AI would deliver. And we don't know what's going to come next. So there could be potentially three scenarios, whether there could be a breakthrough of artificial general intelligence. There could be incremental progress, but also we could enter another AI winter. So the reason why we should manage expectations is that there are certain limitations to development of AI. So the resources that we need for AI to develop include abundance of high quality data, hardware that would be able to keep up with the progress, but also the regulation that wouldn't restrict AI from developing and being implemented. So some research shows that we already will be running out of high quality data for AI system training this or next year, and we will run out of low quality data in the next 2 decades. And the research has shown that using synthetic data actually produces quite bad results. So with if you try to train AI system on synthetic data, the results that they will produce every time will get worse and worse, so they will be more narrow and less precise. So this could be a real issue. With regulation, we've already seen that regulation is catching up with, for example, EU Artificial Intelligence Act, which holds responsible all the different stakeholders, both developers, distributors, and users of AI. And I believe that more and more countries will start implementing similar regulations. And also things like copyright litigations that are happening currently, because a lot of AI models were trained on data that was proprietary, and they were used without permission. So this is another issue that we should keep in mind. So speaking of future of jobs for AI, so we see that in this picture with the development of generative AI, there is 30% of hours work today could be automated by 2030. And there was recent news about with Klarna that the CEO said they will lay off half of the workforce because, as he said, that the AI model can do the job of 700 workers and produce exactly the same results with the same level of customer satisfaction. So this is worrying because this trend can actually increase the inequality in society. Because as usual with the development of technologies, the workers that are more vulnerable would be the ones that are least qualified, that are doing the tasks that are easy to automate. So that's why it's important for the government to regulate AI and to encourage the development of AI that is more human compatible instead of human replacing. So yeah, this is all from me. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Marianne. And now hand off to Paul, who's also going to stay on the business track of AI and who is also a graduate disciple of Peter Morgan. Well done.
Yep. This on?
Hi, welcome everybody. Yes, want to say my thanks to Peter. Most of what I know about AI really started, that journey started with you, so I'm very, very grateful for that. I've only got a couple of slides, and I'm really, again, trying to give a bit of a different dimension on this in the things that I see every day with large companies, small companies, and things that I think all of you should be thinking about. And the idea of AI first, I think the way people described it, I'm a disciple. The world is going to change so fast, so quickly, we are going to struggle to keep up with it. And businesses, particularly large businesses, are going to face massive cultural problems in dealing with what's coming. So unless you as a leader of a company, unless you as somebody in the world take this AI first approach, you really need to think, if I was building this from scratch with the tools that we have today, what kind of jobs would we have, what kind of people would we want? And I think you'll find 80% of the people that are already in the big companies are not ready for what's coming, and that might be generous. So this is a McKinsey framework, it's called the 7S framework, to describe how change in businesses moves ahead. And this is not a technology thing, this is an everything thing. Yes, you're going to have new systems, new support methodologies, but the way your company is organized is going to change. Jobs may or may not disappear, tasks within jobs are already disappearing. If you look at customer service, if you look at the creative, I mean, we had a discussion the other day, you can build a set for your show with Midjourney or DALL-E. You don't need to go to a creative artist anymore, you don't need to spend £3,000, you can get it done in about 15 minutes. That is a major shift change from anything that we are used to. So businesses have to become AI first. You have to start thinking about all of the elements of your business and what is going to change in them. And the bit that I'm going to focus on really is leadership. I think everything that I've ever dealt with change starts with changing minds of one person at a time. And if that person's the CEO, it's going to go a lot quicker and a lot better than if you've persuaded somebody two layers down in the organization. So I think all of us, I was trying to think, what advice can I give to all of you as leaders, as change agents? We've got to start thinking AI first, and that means the leaders have to start thinking very, very differently about what they're doing, and there's going to be a lot of change for people, culture, and there will be impacts on the shared values as well. So before I go to the next slide, I have two questions for you. We'll make this a bit interactive, make sure you're still awake. The first one is, how many of you are using AI every week? Just raise your hand. That's pretty good. How many of you are leading a change with a large group of people around AI? Just raise your hand. So yes, we've got a few, some I know. That's the challenge. I mean, at the moment, just in this audience, you'll see it's a small number that are leading the change, but we've all got to get on this bus, I think, as leaders in this area. And that's it's one of my favorite cartoons, this one. Who wants change? Yeah, let's all do change. Who wants to change what they do? Not me. Not the other guy needs to change his job, but I don't want to do it. And we've done better than the bottom slide. We've got 4 in the room that want to lead change, which I think is really good. So I think the thing that I would try and leave with you, and hopefully stimulate some thought for the Q&A, what should we be doing every day? I feel I should be spending 2 hours a day just learning about AI, just to stay abreast of what is happening. It is that fast. I don't have 2 hours a day, so I'm doing my best to prioritize what I'm following and what I'm not following. Peter, I think, is way ahead of all of us probably. But you've really got a part of this AI first mentality is learn, learn, learn. If you're not spending part of every day trying to figure out what's happening today that was different from yesterday, you are going to get behind very, very quickly. And by 2029, that could be fatal. If I can use your disaster date. Every job's going to change. not so much that they're going to disappear or not disappear, but the tasks within them, some of them are going to disappear and be replaced by AI agents completely, some partially, but you're going to have to reshuffle what your warm body in the room is doing when 70% of the tasks disappear. You're seeing this a lot in customer support right now. People become a bit lost with what to do with that, and there are people still selling services that frankly are already out of date, like getting your customer service support from another country. You don't need to, the machines can do it all. And then the challenge for all leaders, I think, all people that are building businesses, is how do you retain, reprioritize your core values? We're still human beings, we work with human beings, we believe, hopefully, in making the world a better place. How do you retain those values when you start losing control and the machines have a lot more capability than the people that are perhaps interacting? If you only need one bad actor in your company, taking the kind of power that Peter's talking about, it's going to cause problems. So having good cultural values, reprioritizing those values, and making them work in an AI first world, I think is super, super important. So that's my comments for today.
Thank you, Paul, and I fully endorse you spend 2 hours on AI every evening. While I'm down the pub, I think that's a really good idea. That's teamwork, that's management, empowerment. Don't you agree, Pascal?
I do.
Yes, good. Over to you. Over to Pascal, who's going to build on all three of the speakers and give it a much stronger focus on healthcare.
Exactly. Yeah. Good evening. So, healthcare, and thanks, Peter, for your insightful speech. I mean, I've been in healthcare, and I shall say in sick care for over 20 years, which is, I think, hands up, like who has ever been to their GP or to a physician feeling totally fit and healthy and happy? I mean, mainly for the yearly checkup, maybe? Yes? Okay. So I guess that's exactly what is going to change in the future, right? So we'll certainly move into a world where sensors and on our body, in our home will tell us how we feel constantly, and we'll know if we like it or not, that we may have like a deadly disease that needs a treatment, that we'll see a robot rather than a physician to give us some sort of cure or surgery or something that may or may not, as we would like to, but may make us live longer. And the question is, I'm facing a lot of entrepreneurs who envision a future whereby it's led by robotics, it's led by all the LLMs and all the access, very fragmented of single pieces in a system that is actually, if you go into your GP practice, I mean, I go to many of them across Europe, the fax machine is still like one of their most favorite devices. So how do we actually link a system that is intrinsically very conservative into the world of the future? And how do we, for all of us, and not only for the generations to come, really unlock what is out there as a potential for us to live? Jeanne Calment is the oldest human with 124 years, I think, and that's kind of the ceiling where we see as aging is a disease. We can all reach 120 years without too much of a struggle, still fit in our head, and being, doing what? Then that's the question. And do we still want to retire at 60, 65, and so on? So it has like a whole sort of questions to really look at healthcare and how to drive human beings beyond the current reality. So obviously, one aspect that I find very fascinating in AI is the empathy level. That you can repeat to the machine, to the algorithms, endlessly what your symptoms are, how you feel, whatever information you want to feed them. Have you ever experienced that talking to a physician? He has, probably a GP has 3 minutes per patient right now, and then you can download information and he makes his anamnesia in his head and sends you out with a script or with whatever he thinks is what you should have been doing or understanding, and you walk out of his office and you don't know what actually happened to you. And that's the reality of so many of us, so many patients, and that's obviously going to change dramatically with, we have like ADA is an example of a great algorithm that you feed all your symptoms and it comes in even with some very rare diseases that physicians don't have on their on their agenda or on their mind because they can't, like with so many things. So it's now augmented, you have like the physician augmented by the machine. That already is the step we currently are seeing. Same in surgery, we have a lot of procedures where robotics plays in, but still it's steered and managed by a physician or a surgeon that might or might not be in the room. Like we see it more often. A surgeon in Australia performs a surgery in the UK. What the future might look like, it's the machine the robot who's gonna get the surgery on you. So how comfortable do we feel about that advance? It might actually be very comfortable because that machine, that robot has performed hundreds of thousands of the same procedure, has learned every time, and you know, you're gonna go to the latest is a dental practice where you can get a filling and a crown like in 15 minutes, and without any failure rates because it's been proven and tested by hundreds of thousands of similar patients. So I think that's kind of the world we move into. Peter, you mentioned the drug discovery. That's obviously like something, the first de novo molecule has been like approved or is in the process of being approved by the FDA. So that's for a pulmonary disease coming out fairly soon. So again, that's the power of the machine. Some very rare like cancers that you don't want to hear about, brain cancers and other very deadly cancers are in the way of getting cured. So again, we move from sick care to healthcare. And one last aspect is like, how do we really integrate all of this? Because that's the data that is out there in the healthcare system has various quality levels. So I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs that deal with their own data sets, they collect data, all in different formats, all with different history, and actually in 80% of the cases the data is rubbish. So rubbish in, rubbish out, and they come out with some information and solutions that are not proven as really being meaningful. And healthcare has lived, I mean, it's designed to be fragmented and have repeated analysis, and in the way also the remuneration system works for like how physicians and how the system pays for the X-ray, the analysis of this and that. So it's kind of, all this inefficiency can be obviously driven by AI. So that's where I think governments are looking into healthcare system costs and also will drive the acceptance of this. But the people in the system still need to take that adoption. So I think all those challenges mean like a lot of disruption for the healthcare professionals, for the systems, and for us as individuals. Really, how do we want to live till 120 and getting I feel totally fine today, but my AI, my personal AI is telling me that actually I just fallen very ill and I need to do something to reflect for all of us. So thank you, and looking forward to your questions.
I'd like to thank all of you for that, and the audience for listening and not heckling, not going crazy. Now's your chance to ask some questions. We started about 15 minutes later, so we have about 20 minutes for questions. And so just put your hand up and I'll come to you, and I'll try and remember. And one of my faithful friends here will also watch to see who's next for questions. So Michael, can you watch them as well, maybe, for the questions? Let's start with Christian, right?
Christian, yeah.
Christian.
It's for Pascal. Today.
Do you want to pass the microphone then, maybe?
Yes, of course. So today it was a big event in health that happened globally, right here in London, in Mograbyan. Daniel Ek's new company, Neko Health, just launched this revolutionizing test of the whole body. And I just got the invite today. So my question is to Pascal, because this is supposed to seemingly revolutionize how you actually get a scan of your body, using everything you guys talked about, but also a lot of deep health, research and so forth. So I haven't had it yet, so it would be good to know what I'm going to find out.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of that integration of all the data sets that I spoke about before. So you can have your continuous monitoring of all your like vital signs, if you like, and all the different scans and CT, MRI, and compare it, and X-rays, and compare this to millions of people, and then probably there's a statistically like meaningful way to actually diagnose something that you were not aware of. And that's what, looking at like some of the studies coming out where, especially in the imagery field, we look at hundreds of thousands of say X-rays, and look at how many of something has been diagnosed of that X-ray, and looking at it through an AI, usually it augments like the diagnosis level by at least 20 or 30%. So I would assume that using those very integrative like ways will just increase the diagnosed rate of whatever the disease is that will be diagnosed, and hopefully it will be diagnosed early so you can act upon it fairly quickly. But that's where it's going. Yeah.
And it seems so super interesting, to be honest. I mean, it's $2.99 and it's in and out 15 minutes, and you will get the deepest dive of your body. So let's see. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Who's next? Let's take one from that side. Rita?
Thank you so much for the different talks. They've been fascinating. My question's for Paul, actually. You mentioned that AI has, it's important that leaders take up AI, and sort of leaders specifically, you implement it from the top, and sort of its effects and benefits kind of trickle down to the rest of the organisation. And sort of, having done several internships in law, a lot of the practical uses I saw in sort of law firms were more from the bottom up, i.e. sort of simplifying and sort of saving time with lower level tasks. And I was wondering if you could give a few more examples about how leaders specifically can use AI at the top, because rather than sort of simplifying tasks at the bottom.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's not so much that the leaders are using it themselves, it's that they have a mindset and mentality of understanding what it's capable of and where it is today. And I've got some very good friends and partners in law firms. They're very, very entertaining at a dinner. But if you start talking about machine learning, they just blank up, literally. And I don't mean to be rude about anybody, but their awareness of this juggernaut that Peter has described is already here in our lives, that is going to transform the way we do things, is very low. And I do think the people who are younger perhaps are more adept at it. Now in law, I know we've got the famous story of the guy who went to court, quoted a case that didn't exist because it was a hallucination from the AI system, and then was like, well, it doesn't work. So AI systems today do need supervision. When I use it for creative stuff, I joke I've got a 17-year-old intern who is going to produce something that's pretty good, but I better check it because something in there could be horribly wrong and I need to fix it. That's going away in about this 3 to 5 year time frame, which is very, very short compared to our own ability to change as human beings. And I think so the issue for the legal firm, and we actually talked about this on Monday with a gentleman who said, I needed to update my contract. I took my old contract, put it into ChatGPT, and I said, update this contract to 2024, so it's a commercial contract. Got back the document, sent it to his lawyer, and the lawyer said, oh, this is pretty good. So there's a couple of things I would put in here. One of them was jurisdiction, which I don't know why I missed that. And there was one other actual legal commercial point. That document took about 8 minutes to update with no actual lawyer involved, and it was certainly a lot cheaper than going to any legal firm.
Question at the back, Gregory. Then Abigail after that. Was there anyone else had a question? Just so I can, just going to start wrapping up. Was there anyone else after Abigail? Going, gone.
Hi, thank you very much. That was really interesting. I've got a question for you, Peter. But if anyone else wants to share his side, that would be great too. You touched upon how models get trained on data, and also how we're seeing like an exponential rise in its capabilities. We're also seeing more and more people produce work, literature, media, like you said, and a lot of this production, whether it's literature, is now available on the internet publicly, I feel like we're in a position where a lot of these models are now being trained on material they've produced themselves.
Yeah.
And Pascal, you touched upon how we can be in a position where it's garbage in, garbage out. A lot of the mathematics, I feel, tell us that if an AI model trains itself on data it's produced, the accuracy will reduce significantly. How much of a risk are we, as more and more people use AI, of entering this recursive phase of training?
Yeah, that's actually an issue that's being addressed because we're well aware of it, as you mentioned. So it is a well-known phenomenon, and so scientists are on it basically. And it's not as doom and gloom as, there's a couple of weeks ago, there's a lot of clickbait type of articles coming out, and fair enough too, journalists, got to sell, they got a job too. But you got to kind of dig down a little deeper than these clickbait articles, because that one said that in 8 iterations is just garbage, right? Just total garbage. And that's not true, because who would be stupid enough to do that, right? So no scientist is going to do that, and we're going to notice way before. So this is what we're facing more, is that all of these new technologies. Remember when the loom came out, the little tried to smash it up? And this is what we are seeing, and I'm seeing too, pushback and a lot of fear mongering. Like this will kill us all next year or next month, right? Yeah, we're all going to die, and that's definitely you don't want to put yourself psychologically in that place. So that would be my general advice: just do your own research and don't believe the clickbait.
Thank you, cheers. Thanks. Microphone over there. Abigail.
So my question is for our 2 experts over here, just around how a mid-sized business can remain competitive in this AI world that doesn't have the millions, the billions and the trillions. How can they have all the storage and, stay ahead?
So I think it's important, as Paul mentioned, for the leaders to be aware of what's happening in AI domain, to stay ahead of the competition. So obviously smaller companies, medium-sized companies don't have the funding to internally work on AI systems and AI models, but what you can do, there are a lot of startups working on solutions targeted at small and medium companies. So what is important for business leaders is to stay open to opportunities, to see what is coming up in the market, what other competitors are using, and to see if you can implement these solutions as well. And so I think that is the most important thing. And also to make sure that your workforce is aware of AI, to organize internal trainings so that your employees know how to use AI systems that are already available openly, how to use them correctly to improve the efficiency of their day-to-day work. So I think these 2 things would help.
Okay, so I'll just add to that. In terms of especially the safety regulation part, so governments are on top of this now. 2 years ago they weren't. We had the AI summit last year in Bletchley. I went up to that, right? And met all the superstars, talking there from all over the world. And they're just regular people like you and I. They don't want to harm anyone, right? So governments are talking to the right people. Everyone's in the right room at the right time together now, working on regulation, right? So try not to get all this scare stuff. That's bad. When I started in AI, that's the kind of the natural human instinct to go there, but don't go there. So really what we're all trying to do is use AI to increase efficiencies in business. So the main issue really is going to be unemployment. So, 30% unemployment is huge, right? We've only had, 5% is kind of a big deal, 10% is disastrous. So 30%, that's something that governments have to be on top of, and not wait till it happens, but be ready now with some solution, maybe a basic income. It's not going to kill us all. That's just stupid talk. I did put up that quote by Eric Schmidt, when we get a GPT-8, they'll be that powerful. You don't want a guy in North Korea getting their hands on it, or a bad actor in the UK, for that matter, right? So as they get more powerful, like nuclear weapons, the general public cannot walk into a nuclear weapon facility where they design and make nuclear weapons. It'll be the same with these models one day, not today, but one day, probably before 2030. That's all I can say. Just try to be rational. It's tricky. See, human psychology is tricky. Yeah, it's kind of us that's the problem, not the AI.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Peter, Marine, Paul, Pascal. Thank you all for joining us. It's just starting now. Now we've got some wine and some canapes. We've still got the low alcoholic beer. If you drink 19 pints, then Murray guarantees after 19 pints you will not find your tube station. And you'll probably start putting on weight like me. So I haven't been testing that theory. But no, everything we discussed was amazing. So again, thanks for coming to the Haig Talks. I think we kept it so there's enough impact and substance in what we're talking about to get you all excited and inspired. But there's enough time to network, and then maybe we'll make a dinner tonight. So I'm looking forward to talking to you all. The conversation is just starting. Everyone's going to hang around so we can talk in groups. But first, grab a drink and something to eat as they pass it around. Thank you.